as I said, we're going to be talking about one specific case study, let's call it that. In fact, even better, let's call it a success story, because that's what it was, about a campaign to use Facebook ads.
Mhm.
And let's be clear, it's not just doing Facebook ads, as Michael's going to make clear about how you do it, the best way to do it in order to get applicants, to get their CVs, and then also follow up with telephone calls with them. But we're going to be going through the results, which, as I said from right at the top, which is 21 CVs from possible applicants over a 2-month period using £798 in Facebook ad spend. So, and this was for an operator in 2 town areas. That's right, isn't it, Michael? So 2
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
catchment areas. So let's start off, Michael. So what's the first thing that you was involved in the campaign?
So the main issue for this particular campaign was a resource issue, also at the with the care provider. So that's in terms of once the leads are actually pulled through, how quickly could they contact them? Could they contact them at all? And what like were those conversations likely to be? So we kind of started it. We started out by building an ad kind of geographically, as you mentioned there, mainly focusing on kind of 2 different sites. So I think a kind of a 25-kilometre kind of catchment area of either site, and then I built ads around with a few different ad copies. So some with a kind of a human touch, talking about what it's like to work there. Some kind of more detail orientated, which is talking about benefit, salary, and that type of thing, and some just with just an invite to apply for it. Sometimes not with much detail, just short ad copy, nice and punchy, and also to basically to show off the brand. Alongside that, we had ads already raising awareness of this particular carer in that particular area, and then we kind of quickly realised that perhaps this carer didn't have the resource to make the calls out to the potential applicants, and so I took the step of offering to call them on their
Yeah,
behalf, and
yeah,
that was
yeah.
probably the key point.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We'll come back to the moment that back. We'll come back to that in a moment. But you're absolutely right. I mean, what was key for this care operator is probably essential for anyone listening. It's like all very well to put up Facebook ads, and have wonderful copy. And as Michael was talking about, we'll come back to the moment. There's 3 different style of ads. You have to think carefully about the ads, and that's what Michael has been doing. But also, right from the very, very beginning, is this care operator is massively well known in both areas.
Yeah,
Both
definitely.
areas. And how did it do this? It is regularly being seen in the press. It has massive numbers on Facebook. So all those possible applicants are already knowing about them as a brand, as a great employer, as
Yeah,
a great provider of care. Now, this is the foundations, I think, probably for any listeners here, is the absolute foundation which you must be working on, is that you need to be seen as a good employer, you need to be seen as a great brand, and you need to be seen as a good place to work.
yeah,
I think that's probably what you're alluding to here, Michael. In fact, it is that, and again, we'll come back to this in a moment, actually how you found out that that was actually the case.
yeah,
Um, but let's move step right from, we've got that as the foundations, and that was clear it was like this for this care operator. But then these ads themselves, it talks about, it's not just about putting ads out. You have to think about the copy, about
yeah,
the people you're trying to reach, about
yeah,
what position they are in right now, and what they are specifically looking for. Because
yeah,
you talked about the different ads there. You talked about one of them was like purely about the benefits, and I guess that's what the benefits are in terms of wage and all of that. But there were other elements too. There was this human touch element as well.
yeah.
So talk about the strategic thinking about the different kinds of ads.
So the human touch adverts are very much talking about the type of people that work there. Testimonials from current employees, or and kind of really like trying to give people a genuine picture of what it would be like to work there personally. Because salary is definitely one thing, but another thing is that whole kind of am I going to be, is this the right environment for me? And we talked about job satisfaction, how likely someone was to recommend working there. And for this particular care operator, they had really good testimonials. They had really good feedback from current employees, and also just touching on the presence that they had both on social media and also in the local area. They were really able to draw on that, and I was able to really draw on that for the kind of human touch adverts. So that worked really well. It was quite good synchronicity across both the social media organic posts, and then the adverts we put out for these paid ads.
Yeah, no, that's right, 100%. I would, anyone listening, make sure you take note of that. It's really, really important. So, and then there's a number of different ads. And it's campaigns. It's broken down into it, and there might be a number of different ads within a particular campaign. But talk about Facebook lead forms and how important that is, because sometimes a care operator might decide they want to do if they let's get really into the details, into the weeds here, Michael, because for anyone listening, they've never run Facebook ads for care workers, they've got no idea, but there's so many options. You can do the ads that go onto the website, that link to your website, your Facebook page, or to a lead form, or even a customized landing page. So what in this particular campaign, what is it that worked?
So as you alluded to, you can have click to website, you can have lead form, or you can have a landing page. In particular, the reason why I would favour a lead gen, and this is what we use for this particular operator, is because it captures the detail. We can also ask an additional question there, and it keeps it all within Facebook. Sometimes you can kind of end the process if you take it away to a landing page, because sometimes if it takes time to load, or people just think, I'm going to be down, I'm going to be kind of served loads of ads from this particular person or this particular operator. But a lead form keeps it in Facebook. It's absolutely instant. It captures the details. So I would capture their name, their email address, and their telephone number. It's made very clear in the lead form that we're just using this information to follow up on their interest in the vacancy itself, and also it allows you to put in a little bit more detail about the role. And crucially, you can ask for have they had experience. You can add in higher intent questions if it's for carers or if it's for nurses. For instance, for nurses, you can ask what type of nursing are they involved in at the moment? Do they have the right experience? So it's just an additional qualifying question, so that you know that you're getting the right type of lead through, and it helps you filter out not so much time wasters, but certainly people who wouldn't be appropriate to progress to the next stage of your recruitment.
And this particular campaign, which, as I said, was just 2 months, did it have any qualification questions on this lead form?
With the carers, the lead form just asked, did they have a CV? Okay. And were they able to send a CV? Again, that was critical for this particular carer, because the recruitment team wanted to have the CVs in situ before making that follow-up call.
I see, right.
To invite them in. That was crucial, and they wouldn't do it without that.
Yeah, I see. Great. So it had a lead. For those who are listening, it's a Facebook lead form, and it had a question. On this case, it was, do you have a CV which you can provide? Is that something like that? Is that?
That's correct. It's an additional form. Do you have a CV? Is a CV available upon request?
Right.
And again, it's setting the expectation that that's going to be requested. Because not necessarily everyone has an up-to-date CV sitting ready and waiting to go. But again, once if they answer that yes, that's a good high intent.
Right. Yeah. So that's a bit of a filtering out. Go on, Michael.
Yeah. Oh, and off the back of that, I also set up an automated email through Zapier to send an email to the recipient and also to the carer. So the email to the recipient says thank you for your interest, and could you also send an up-to-date CV to this email address, and or to the desired email address, and it also sends an email to the carer to let them know that they've had a response, and and to let them know that this email has also been sent.
I see. So let's be clear here. There's an automated email sequence going on here.
Yeah.
So the lead form is capturing name, email address, and phone number, but
Yep.
also they're being also emailed to say to request their CV. Is that correct?
Yeah, and to acknowledge and thank them for the response as well. So
And
it
to
keeps the lead
acknowledge.
warm. So
Yeah.
and just to make them that bit more sticky, for want of a better
Right.
phrase,
I'm with you.
they're already aware now that they're in a process now, and we're ready to talk to them.
Yeah, I see. That's great. Okay, good. So so you have the Facebook lead form, and you have this automated email, and it's instant, isn't it? That's correct. It's not,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
all automated. So
As
the
soon as we
things that
make
you
the
might be
application,
doing manually, normally you're using the system that you've created to make sure that's all automated and it is instant as well.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go through the numbers here. So over the course of just short of 2 months, if I remember correctly,
Yeah,
total ad spend of
yeah.
798, no, 598,
But £798. Yeah,
798 pounds.
yeah,
We get
yeah.
total leads of, I think it was around about
61.
six. Go on,
So
go on, Michael.
66 leads.
66.
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Now this is when it becomes really interesting, because out of those 66,
yeah,
around about 10 of them, so that's 1 in 6,
yeah.
sent their CVs immediately on that first request.
Correct.
Which was fine, but don't forget we also had the name, email, and phone number. Now, what was so important here is that you personally, on behalf of this care operator, followed up
Yeah.
via phone. Is that correct, or did you
Yeah,
just?
that's correct. So the email side of things was one thing, and that pulled in CVs automatically because people just were in a position where they had CVs already, and they were just able to kind of attach that to the response, which was great. That's a really quick win, some real low hanging fruit for the to capture the CVs. The follow up was where I offered to actually call the leads. So those calls were so useful because one, it helped us really gauge the temperature of how well the ads were doing, and two, it also gave us an idea of what the likelihood was to get these responses, because it may be that obviously with this particular carer that there was a resource issue to be able to get to those leads quickly, so it solved that for them. But it allowed us to kind of get a real flavour for what a typical applicant would be for these adverts. The response was really good. Because of that whole organic social media posting that was already in place, coupled with the fact that the ads were going out at the right kind of frequency, and people were not so much getting bombarded, but they were very aware of this particular carer in the area. So at the point where, and also they had already responded. So, I mean, but in saying that, you do sometimes get people who they click through the form, and they don't necessarily kind of pay much attention to it, or they've filled it out in error, or somebody's filled it out in error for them. But the response was particularly strong for this carer, and people were already aware of the brand. So when it came time for me to actually call them, the response was very warm. They were aware of who the operator was. They were aware of they were absolutely aware of that they filled in the form, and they were keen to progress. And in fact, from those 66 responses, there were only 5 that couldn't progress. Whether that be because they didn't have the right experience for this particular recruitment strategy, or they were out of the country for some of the foreign workers. But there was only 5 that were dead ends, which is extremely positive. So again, that just means that it means that the audience is right. It means the ads hit the right people, and the people it did hit, they had the right response for it. So everything just fell into place very neatly.
Yeah, yeah. And so let's just go through the numbers again. So originally, first round out of that 66,
Yep,
11 gave their CV. You followed up with phone calls. You
yep,
managed to get another 11,
10.
I think it's 10, 11 CVs. It brought up the total of from 21 CVs
Right.
from possible interested applicants out of that initial pool of 66, which is
Yep,
around about a third.
yep,
So, and you were also finding, and again, as you stated, and again, I'm going to stress because it does, right as we said right from the top of this episode, the importance of being seen and known as a good employer makes a massive difference. And you were finding out when you were speaking to these applicants that they knew about this particular care operator.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean that can't really be overstated. To be honest, the kind of ideal scenario is that people are kind of almost waiting for your phone call. They're aware, and you throw in the fact that we've already sent an email as well, the automated email. People have received that, and they know that we're going to be making contact with them. So
Yeah.
again, it just all sets expectations so that it's a nice, comfortable conversation when it comes to making the phone call.
Yeah, and when you were making the phone calls on these follow-up, Michael, how often were you able to get through first time? How often did you need 2 calls or 3 calls, or what were you finding?
Well, then the first tranche of phone calls, I would say probably about a third of them, I was able to make contact. And the ones that I didn't make contact with, I just sent an email. I just sent a follow up email, just to say that we were trying to get a hold of them. A lot of people won't answer from a telephone number that they don't recognise.
Yeah.
But by sending that follow up email to say, look, tried to call you today, and I'll try again, and also left a voicemail to say, to give my name, what I'm calling about, and the telephone number that they can contact me back on.
Yeah.
And that meant that, and I actually got a number of people calling me back, which was very encouraging, from the voicemail, and also from the email that I sent as well, or they just responded to the email with their CV, and so there was a couple of quick wins in there as well. So it didn't take much persistence. I only ever called the lead 3 times. If I didn't get a hold of them after 3 times, I would send them I would send them a final email just to say, we've been unable to get in contact with you. We would love to hear from you. Here are our details, so that I don't want to overcook it.
Yeah, I see. And tell me about the kind of generic script when you were ringing them up on a follow up. What was the general script that you had?
It's a really nice light touch, because the point of it wasn't to go through any kind of interview with them. It was really just to say thank you for thank you for applying. I would find out if they had for this particular operator they required 1 year's experience, and I was able to kind of just establish that on the call, and then if they had any real kind of like light touch questions, so like where are you located, what are the kind of regular shift patterns, how many do you do full or part-time hours, so just generic questions. I was able to answer those.
Great. And then from that, you then handed the details over to the recruitment team for the care operator themselves to then, take it from there.
Yeah, and I would establish also the best date and time for them to call, because sometimes they might be working. So I can say like, this person, like, they're always off on a Thursday. You can call them anytime after 12. So they've got a nice, easy lead in to the actual any kind of follow up call that they have. Because a competitive marketplace, at the end of the day, these people are probably getting called by 2 and 3 different operators or agencies. So to have that as a good start as your jump off point, you're already getting yourself ahead of the game.
Great. Well, this is fascinating and so important as an extra tool for you, a vital tool for anyone listening, to make sure that you follow a similar strategy to get care workers. That's great, Michael. Listen, before we go, is there anything that you want to add that we've not touched on?
Not really. I mean, just kind of reiterate, as long if you get your audiences right, get your ad right, and then your follow up. Your follow up is the key thing,
Yeah,
because you can get so many leads, but the follow up is key. The longer you leave without calling them, people kind of start to turn off, and so it's so key to probably to get in touch, but certainly within 24 to 48 hours. Because it's striking while the iron's hot. People are aware of your brand straight away, and you get
yeah,
that first touch in. So, but yeah,
yeah.
it's the speed at which you respond. That's the key thing.
Perfect. Great, Michael. Thank you so much. Listen, to everyone listening, if you'd like any more information on this particular campaign and how it might be able to work for you or not, then email recruitment as your subject line, hello@springup-pr. So put your subject line recruitment and email hello@springup-pr.com. Michael, thank you so much.
Well, thanks for having me.